Hey everybody, it's Chris. If you're a sports fan like me, or you're just a fan of a great story, you gotta check out Press Box Access, a sports history podcast hosted by Todd Jones. Todd sits down with fellow sports writers who experienced firsthand some of the biggest sports moments of the past 50 years, and they share some of the stories behind the stories, some of which they've only told to each other. What I personally love are the wild stories that you might not hear so much about on SportsCenter over the years. Like when Indiana-based sports journalist Bob Kravitz recounts the time Bobby Knight showed up naked to an office meeting with him and then banned him from the Hoosiers locker room for the next 3 years because Bob wrote a story he didn't like. Or when Alexander Wolf tells the story about going out on the town in Chicago with Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra in the middle of a Bulls playoff series. Or when Dan Wetzel talks about what it was like to be in the media room when Temple basketball coach John Chaney stormed into UMass coach John Calipari's press conference after a game and threatened to kill him. These wild and fun stories, paired with stories about real sports greatness, you know, like the 1970s Steelers being the greatest NFL dynasty ever, or the legendary rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and even the impact of protests for social justice issues in sports, make Pressbox Access a show you should check out. Pressbox Access is part of the Evergreen Podcast family, and it's available all the places you get your pods, and you can also find Pressbox Access on YouTube. Go check it out.
Does Monday at the office feel like a storm? Not with Microsoft Copilot. That feeling when Copilot gets everyone up to speed instantly? It's sunny again. When Copilot simplifies complex data so your teams can act, that sun's shining on a beach. And when Copilot uncovers hidden insights, you're on that beach with your people, and you find buried treasure. That's Microsoft Copilot. Learn more at Microsoft.com/AI for all.
What does Colgate mean by live life to the brightest? Could it be a rich glass of red sipped inside a Parisian cafe on a snowy night when my gaze is met by a tall, mysterious... I mean, brushing is directed with Colgate Optic White Pro Series toothpaste gives you a visibly whiter smile in just 3 days, so you can live life to the brightest and finish that glass without worrying about teeth stains. Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers.
Well, Chris, we're into the next round of March Madness. We're down to the final 8 songs, and I'm pretty excited. We got 116 responses this week.
That's great.
To the Survey Monkey, which means that you can't argue with the results. It's undeniable when these things win by a large margin. It's a pretty large margin at that point.
Tell them large margin sent you.
Yes, exactly. Let's just dive right in, right? So our first quadrant that we had was labeled as like rock songs from 1994. And the first matchup was Green Day Basket Case versus The Offspring Self-Esteem.
Boy, oh boy, do I hope Green Day won this one.
Chris, not only did your wish come true, this was the largest margin of win.
Yes.
71% of the votes going to Green Day Basket Case.
Hey, Green Day Basket Case might be the number 1 seed right now. It might be the overall favorite to win it all, right?
I think so. So the other matchup that we had in this quadrant was Cranberry Zombie versus Weezer Buddy Holly.
Weezer had to take this, right?
It did, but not as wide of a margin as the previous one. Weezer took this with 60% of the vote. So
still pretty convincing.
Pretty convincing, but still, like, I thought that was also going to be a clean sweep, which means that the final matchup of this quadrant, I think we could have predicted this one, is Green Day Basket Case versus Weezer Buddy Holly, and that comes down to just personal preference of every single voter at that point, because you can't even say one song is better than the other in that battle. That is just what your mood is that day.
That could have been the finals if they were on different sides of the bracket.
Yeah.
You know, those should have been 2 number 1 seeds, probably. I feel like we're talking about this matchup so much on One Hit Thunder lately because we talked about it when we did the 1994 albums draft, Dookie versus the Blue Album. This is so hard. I saw that, you know, this year, Green Day and Weezer are both doing the anniversary album plays. Weezer just announced that they're doing a Blue Album play tour. I don't know. It's such a tough call, man. I don't even know which way I'm voting yet.
No, because they're both important in different ways, right? The next matchup. So this matchup, look, I'm just going to call it like it is, right? This matchup was rap. This quadrant is rap songs with like one or two extra leftover songs. And I got to say, I should have seen this coming. Man, does our audience not like rap music, is what I landed on with this. So the first matchup was the Beastie Boys Sabotage versus Snoop Doggy Dogg's Gin and Juice.
Well, in this particular instance, I would have went with Sabotage just because I don't think Gin and Juice is even my favorite Snoop Dogg or Snoop Dogg affiliated song.
In my humble opinion, Gin and Juice shouldn't have even won the first matchup against Regulate by Warren G. Like that is just like that is such a better song than Gin and Juice. And the audience did agree with you. 65% of the vote going to Weezer or to Beastie Boys. This was the closest matchup of the entire week. Notorious B.I.G. Juicy versus Beck Loser.
Oh, man. This is another really hard one because I love Loser. I love Loser so much the Punchline even covered it on the Songs from 94 EP that we released 5 years ago. But I said it before, I'll say it again. I think Juicy is probably top 5 rap songs of all time.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
But from what you said before about our listeners, I don't know why they wouldn't like rap music. I don't know. I just off the fact you said that, I guess Loser probably won, right?
Loser won by 51% of the votes. It was such a thin margin. So now, I mean, this is another tough matchup, though, is now for that quadrant, the final battle is Beastie Boys Sabotage versus Beck Loser. And that's another tough one. And I think I might lean Beck Loser between those two, but they're both 100% A++ songs for me.
I mean, Sabotage is just so energetic. It gets me fired up, probably more than it did back then. When I watch live performances of them playing so that.
Good. Them on Letterman, it's like one of the best performances of all time.
It's so good. I don't know. Both songs are so good and so fun. Man, these matchups are going to get so hard. I feel like as we move on, every single matchup's going to be 51-49.
I think so too. Well, so let's look at what happened in the next quadrant, right? The next quadrant was singles released in 1994 from albums from 1993. And our first matchup was Counting Crows' Mr. Jones versus Lisa Loeb's Stay.
I really hope Mr. Jones won, but I'm scared.
Mr. Jones won by 57% of the vote. So It wasn't like a runaway, but it was not up for debate either. It was a very clear win.
Dude, these songs in the next round, Basket Case, Buddy Holly, Sabotage, Mr. Jones, this is insane. It just goes to show you how good 1994 is.
It truly was. So this matchup was the second largest margin of win.
Okay.
And it was Sheryl Crow's All I Want to Do versus Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers' Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Oh, neither of these songs are, I mean, I like the Tom Petty song, but I wouldn't have expected that this would have been a landslide either way. Is that what you said? That it was?
Yeah, this was behind Green Day. This was the second widest win.
I got to think it was Tom Petty that ran away with it.
Tom Petty ran away with it with 68% of the votes.
Okay.
And that means the next matchup, this might be the easiest matchup for you and I here, is Counting Crows' Mr. Jones versus Tom Petty, Mary Jane's Last Dance. And it's like, I love that Tom Petty song, but it is no Counting Crows' Mr. Jones.
Let's go Crows.
Yeah, I think personally the Crows have a very clear path to the final two.
Wow.
I think so. And then the final quadrant was listed as pop songs and one leftover rock song. And the first matchup was Alive's I Alone versus Enigma's Return to Innocence.
Oh boy. I really hope Live didn't advance this far. I'll be really disappointed. I have to hope and pray that it's Enigma.
Chris, if anyone ever wants to call into question the fairness of the voting, and if I manipulate the results, let it be the evidence that Alive I Alone won by 54%.
Why do you keep calling them Alive?
sorry, that live I Alone. It's because of look at it. Alive I Alone. There's the alone,
Okay.
whatever. So
I thought you were thinking of the Pearl Jam song.
No, I mean, that song rules. But yeah, Live won this with 54% of the vote. You know, if I was a manipulating man, I would have just swapped those and pushed Enigma forward. But I'm not that type of guy.
What were the percentages?
54% to 46%. So Enigma put up a good ass fight. This was the second closest matchup behind the juicy Beck loser battle.
Live All Alone goes to the Elite Eight. I don't like it.
I don't like much of this quadrant and how the shakedown is, Chris, because the final matchup was Ace of Base, The Sign versus Boys to Men, I'll Make Love to You.
Well, I'm a Boys to Men guy, but from what you just said, I have to assume that it didn't go my way.
Now, 53% Ace of Base, The Sign.
Damn.
Another close match, leading to the matchup of the Elite Eight that I'm the least interested in, which is Live I Alone versus Ace of Base, The Sign.
Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah,
that's such a bad matchup.
But if you had to put, I'm hoping, I guess, for Ace of Base at this point. I don't want Live making it to the Final Four.
Man, it would have been so much more fun if it was Enigma versus Boys to Men.
It would be, listen, my dream was for that to be the case, but unfortunately the votes were not there. Here's the thing. The one thing that I have comfort in is that I feel like no matter who wins this next matchup, I'm so confident that Counting Crows advances that I'm like, Counting Crows can take Live I Alone and Ace of Base, The Sign any day. Like, that's not even a debate. Unless there's these diehard Live fans that are just like, is Live tweeting out our
who are Counting Crows
March
up
Madness?
against?
They're up against Tom Petty. I think that they're going to win that pretty comfortably.
You think, man, don't underestimate Petty, first of all. I mean, I'm all for Mr. Jones here, but also I'm a little bit scared of the dark horse Ace of Base.
Basically the same band.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit scared of Ace of Base right now because I think we underestimated The Sign.
Yeah,
really
we didn't open up our eyes and see it strongly enough.
The sign was right there, man. But I got to think that Green Day are the favorites right now. I got to think.
That's my guess, but you never ever know. So I'm really curious to see how these votes go. As always, in the notes of this episode is a link where you can vote on our Survey Monkey. Also, it's going to be on our Facebook and on our Instagram. There'll be places for you to get those votes in. Chris, I don't think either one of us has anything coming up in the next week that we need to announce, but hey, congrats on another successful tour that you did last weekend. Fans heard us in the green room of Asbury Lanes last week, and I have to tell you, I was doing merch for 2 of those shows, and someone came up to the merch table at the Maryland show, and I should have written down her name. I'm sorry that I forgot to, but she actually told me she likes the bonus episodes more than even the regular episodes, because she's like, I can just go in and listen to the Usher halftime show or like the March Madness stuff, and I don't have to know anything about the song. I'm just going in and you guys are just like having fun talking about stuff that just recently happened. So, maybe we'll keep doing more of these after March Madness. Who knows? We'll find reasons to get on the mic on a Friday and fill them in on how things are going.
Yeah, that was fun. It was cool at those shows talking to some people who listen to the show. I know at the Asbury Lane show, I talked to One Hit Thunder listener Bob McClosey for a while.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bob. And yeah, it's nice to be out in the world and talk to some people that listen. And I'm always very, very happy. It always is a real thrill when someone listens to our podcast. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Chris could say, much like Punchline's 6th album, he is thrilled when people come up and talk to him.
That is true. I'm not going to lie here. I've become a Factor fanatic lately. I'm a busy guy, and getting to eat restaurant quality meals that are ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes has been amazing. Eating better is easy with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never-frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to go in just 2 minutes. You have 35 different options to choose from every week, including Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. And also, there are more than 60 add-ons to help you stay fueled up and feeling good all day long. I've been spreading the word to everyone I know, not just here on the podcast, but in person as well. Factor is the perfect solution if you're looking for fast, premium options with no cooking required. You get as much or as little as you need by choosing your meals every week. Plus, you can pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. And the math doesn't lie. Factor is less expensive than takeout. Plus, considering every meal is dietitian approved, it's also nutritious and delicious. So what are you waiting for? Get started today by heading to factormeals.com/1hit50 and use the code 1hit50 to get 50% off. That's code 1hit50, the words 1hit and the number 50, that is, at factormeals.com/1hit50 to get 50% off.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses, so don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hey, this is Aaron from No Simple Road. I'm inviting you to come hang out with Apple, Mel, and I as we talk with the musicians, artists, chefs, authors, and beyond from the world that turns us on. We're reaching into the improvisational music scene, the psychedelic culture, the festival world, and getting to know what makes the people tick that create those scenes. Come join us on the long, strange trip over at No Simple Road.